everyone. We have to talk about Bitcoin here because, as you can see, we are down over 5% in the last 24 hours here inside of Bitcoin. So it is actually started to crash again. So we're going to talk about that today. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice, but let's get straight into it, guys. So as you can see right now, Bitcoin is kind of trying to not drop below 85K right now. It's already broken 86, and now it is trying its best to stay at the support at 85K. But if we break this support, we're now making another lower low after breaking below this area right here. So we do not want to break this area, because also when we broke this area right here, when that happened, we had that huge drop that brought us straight down to 81K. So if we break this right here at 85K, we're probably going to end up breaking all the way down to 81K pretty soon. So I think that's something that people should definitely be paying attention to, because this thing could start speeding up quickly. Now, this is only the 30-minute chart, by the way. You can see it's kind of building up here. We see the %R trend exhaustion. We see the short-term trend coming down. Long-term trend is too, but it's still oversold, right? It had a little bit of a reversal, but it still is a little bit oversold. We could have a bounce back, but we'll see. It looks like we're about to break this support. So that's why I would say you definitely want to be careful here. Even though we're oversold, we can stay oversold for way longer than this, right? It could stay trading sideways down here for longer than you would expect. And that's how you get, more selling pressure going on. So also with the MACD, it looks like the selling slowed down, but it could easily speed back up right here. It could continue downwards. So that's something that you really have to be careful with. And then we can go over here to the 4-hour chart. Let's go ahead and hit that. Actually, let's do the 4-hour, and then we'll do the daily chart after that. So this is the daily or the 4-hour chart. And I was talking about this on my other video about how we had the short-term trend was just breaking up here and it was just overbought, but the long-term trend wasn't following. And I said, when it crosses right here, it could just take that long-term trend down with it. That's exactly what happened. The trends crossed, it took the long trend down with it. Now, what I think is going to start happening here, the short-term trend is going to start leveling out, and then the long-term trend is as well. And then there might be like an increase right here at the bottom, and we might see something similar where the short-term trend breaks out again, and then the long-term trend does not, and it gets smaller, and then it starts to create this pattern, this downward pattern. So that's a possibility here. So, and you can actually see it curving a little bit right now as I'm speaking. So as it's curving right now, it's probably going to end up doing what I'm talking about here. The short-term trend is going to end up coming all the way down here. Long-term trend, doing something like this. And then the short-term trend breaks out. Long-term trend goes sideways and down a little bit. And then the short-term trend comes right back down and pulls the price right back down. So that could be what brings us down to 75K. If we follow this to a T, that could happen. A lot of selling pressure here. And look at how it's not uniform like the rest of these selling pressure areas. Look, the rest of the selling pressure areas, they look the same. But this one is a little bit different. And this is why I said the whales are trying to keep prices down on purpose. Look at how it started off, and then out of nowhere, huge amount of selling pressure out of nowhere. That is the whales. They pushed it down, as you can see. Within a 4-hour period here, if we go down to the 2-hour, yep, we still see that same candlestick. We come down to the 1 hour, it'll be that same candlestick. So within 1 hour, they were able to push this thing all the way down. So think about it, from 90K down to 87K in 1 hour. That's just 1 hour of the dump that we just had. So, you got to be careful because, these whales, they have more pull over the market than you think. Look at that huge candlestick right here, right? All in a day. And then we just look like we're about to trend down a little bit further here on the %R trend exhaustion. So I don't know. I'm going to keep you guys updated on this, but my viewpoint is still bearish here. I mentioned in a video, if we break this level here, I'm definitely bearish, right? There are scenarios where this doesn't become bearish, right? And I'll give you an example. An example for one would be a double bottom. As you can see, this is the double bottom right down here. And what a double bottom would look like is this going up here, is down there or up there and then down again, and then boom, a pump from there. So it would be like boom, 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 boom. So that would be the double bottom scenario. And then we also have the cup and handle scenario here, which we're still in a position where it could be, right? We have to take all of these possibilities into account. This would be the cup and handle right here. And then this would be the handle. And then boom, it would go up like that. And that is just another scenario that could happen. But if this right here breaks, then both of those scenarios, well, the cup and handle is invalid. Then we got to wait till it gets to 81K. Then if 81K breaks, now the double bottom scenario is now invalidated, because remember we hit 81K down here. So if we hit it again, but then we just break it from there, then the double bottom scenario is invalidated and will come down to 75K/74K Bitcoin pretty soon. So I'm going to keep you guys updated on that. And then the weekly chart, this was a big point of mine. I was making a point of saying, if we do not bounce here on the %R trend exhaustion, we have confirmed our bear market. And we did not bounce there, and we kept going and we broke it. Look at where it was in my video yesterday. It looked like it was about to start curving upwards. This little curve here kind of tricked me, but still, it's continuing on a downtrend. This means that this is invalidated. Since this is invalidated, we're going to have the short-term trend come all the way down here to this oversold area, and then the short-term trend is going to come back up. And then the long-term trend is going to go down about the same amount as the short-term trend. And how do you calculate that? You take the date and range here, you bring it down to here, to where it's going to stop at, which is the bottom. This is where it's oversold at. This is the lowest it can go to pretty much complete oversold territory. That's about 27% right there. So if we move this up here, that same 27%, and this is just a rough calculation, right? This isn't me saying, oh, it'll be exactly like this. No, 27% for the long-term trend would be right here. The short-term trend generally moves faster than the long-term trend. That's just how I've noticed it, right? And then that means if we come down here to the bottom of this, we should stop right there and then meet the long-term trend or the short-term trend there. And then they'll probably go back down at the same time, going down towards the end of 2026. And, this is just a theory, but, this is how I think that it could come out, how it could play out. So again, bouncing here on the short-term trend, same with the long-term trend, doing something like this, prolonged, trying to bounce, trying to come back or something. Maybe the short-term trend stays down like this, long-term trend trickles its way down. Then by the end or mid-2026, we start to see it try to recover. And then by the end of the 2026, we start to see the recovery. And it would look similar to this right here. It would look very similar to that. Look, we've seen it happen back here. The long-term trend crashed and the short-term trend crashed. And then it literally took a whole year for it all to come back. But first, the short-term trend broke out, left the long-term trend, and then the long-term trend eventually caught up once the short-term trend cooled down a little bit, and they both went up at the same time. So I would say patience. Next year, the bull market should start back up. Towards the middle to end of next year, the bull market should start back up. And that's all I gotta say. A lot of people aren't gonna like that. I think I think that we are going to continue to go downwards until the middle of next year, right? We're probably gonna end up, losing a lot of value inside of crypto, and not just Bitcoin, like crypto in general. Like a lot of projects are gonna lose value, but hopefully we can rebound here, and hopefully things are different, because remember, we now have institutional investors included inside of the whole crypto market. We have a lot more people, a lot more liquidity. So that's a huge difference that we have in our favor. So we might not have a prolonged bear market like before. It might get shorter. So we might see that we start recovering by the beginning of next year, or maybe we start recovering by the middle of next year instead of the end, right? So we got to keep that into consideration as well. But anyways, this is all I got for you guys today. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor, and none of this is financial advice. I'll keep you guys updated here. And as always, I'll be back with another video.